All right, dare I even say it? The S word, the shanks. Listen, it happens to all of us, and I've been swinging the club as best as I felt like I'd ever been swinging it, and out of nowhere, the dreaded shot has reared its ugly head. So if you struggle with this, watch this video because it's definitely gonna help. We've got Ryan Hager here, Director of Instruction at Plainfield Country Club. Ryan, I don't even want to say the word, but listen,
well,
once it happens, kind of everything goes out the window, confidence and everything.
Yeah.
But the odd part about it is we've worked on a lot since our last lesson, and I feel like I'm swinging the club well, but then the ball is, shanks every once in a while.
Sure.
I gotta fix this.
Well,
what do you got for me?
Fortunately for you, I'm not as afraid of these as you are.
Okay,
so
good.
We'll get this thing sorted out. Don't
That's
worry.
promising.
I think sometimes the shanks can be endlessly confusing to people, right? Because sometimes I think a golfer will hit a shank and their brain thinks they hit right here, right? When in reality, for the most part, I would say for every toe shank I see, I'll see 100 heel shanks, right? And so maybe sometimes that has to do with experience. I think that's a pretty logical thing. Like, oh my God, the ball went 90 degrees right. I must have hit it there, but it actually bounces off the hosel more often than not. So understanding.
Put me squarely in that category too, because it took until I recorded my swing and watched it in slow motion to see, because when you see a ball jet right, you think
ricocheted. It's like it's got to come off the end.
Right. Yeah.
Not really. I mean, I watch a lot of swings. I see a lot of shanks, and I have slow motion video going almost all the time, and you can always see the club come into contact with the ball right on El Hosel.
Yep.
So more often than not, if you're hitting it 90 degrees right, it's coming off of here.
Yep.
You can sometimes see marks over there, and not as often does it come off of this side. It happens, but a heel shank's much more common than a toe shank.
And for me, there's varying degrees of it too. So not always it's just that dramatic. Sometimes it's just a little in on the heel, and I'm noticing that my ball is moving right like a fade, which I'm used to playing a draw. So this is all very new to me, and I don't know what I did to cause it, but we got to fix it.
That's where the second stage of confusion comes from, is why am I shanking it? And so, relative to the camera here, if we're looking down at the target line, you can shank it for, I don't know that you could say infinite reasons, but someone with too much of an inside-out path can hit the ball on the hosel. Someone with too much of an outside-in path can hit the ball on the hosel. You can have a perfect club path and hit the ball on the hosel. You can hit the ball on the hosel with an open face, with a closed face. Closed face shanks are really common. People hit it off the hosel. They might feel that they hit it off the hosel, and they assume that the only way that could happen is like this, but they actually hit it like this.
And the ball still goes right?
Still goes to the
So that's particularly perplexing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Off the same part of the club, but they don't look the same. The swings, that is.
So it's a very individual
The ball still goes
thing.
90 degrees
right.
But what I try to make really, really clear to people is you set up to the ball, addressing it hopefully in the middle, and then you hit it like this. And it doesn't matter if it's open, it doesn't matter if it's closed. The club, instead of coming back to the ball here, it was further away from you than when it started, right? That is the most important part of this, is instead of the club being, the same distance from your body that it was at address, maybe actually it could be the same distance from your body if your body moves towards the ball. But sometimes your body doesn't move towards the ball and your arms do. Or like I said, the club's just too far out or too far in, and then it ends up too far away from you. So at the end of the day, I think the take-home message for a lot of people here is, if you've maybe used face spray or just by looking at your divots and the club when you're done, if you're hitting it off the heel, regardless of why, the club's too far this way at the moment you're making contact than it needs to be. So that's part one, right?
Okay.
Figuring out the cause of that would be, actually I guess that'd be part three, right? Part one is you're hitting the hosel. Part two is you're hitting the hosel because the club's too far out here. Part three is, why is the club too far out there, right?
Okay.
And that's my job, right? Figuring out case by case why that's happening.
Do you find that there are some, even though there's so many different ways to shank it, are there some commonalities that cause that?
Yeah, for sure. One being that there's sort of this, if I wind up to the ball, or actually why don't you go ahead and wind up to the ball. Just take it up to the top of the swing, we're going to talk about your setup in a minute, right? But you've put the club like behind your body, right? So the majority of the club is over there, but the ball's over here, right? Your instinct, for whether you're trying to hit a draw or not, is I got to go out to the ball because that's where the ball is. Right? What you'll see in like a tour player swing is the club actually comes down, around, and is like really tight to the body. The arms are really connected. Your body's in posture, right? But I think a lot of people, there's an instinct of like, okay, the club's over here and the ball's over there, so I got to go out to the ball because that's where it is.
Gotcha.
I think that's a really, really common one is, I got to get this thing from over here to out there, and I want to do it fast, and I want to hit the ball far. And so it's like there's like a lunge that happens towards the golf ball a lot of times. I can't say that about everybody, but that's a really, really common one. Is sort of that like, almost like a baseball player, like the bat is kind of behind you and you swing right out in front of you. You don't shank a baseball though, like, you're just trying to hit anywhere on the barrel. This is different. Like we want to hit it right in the center of the club. So there's a pretty specific, delivery that needs to happen. And so that's a really common one, I would say.
It's kind of a first checkpoint.
Yes. The second checkpoint is like, let's say that's not necessarily happening. You'd look at someone's club face and club path. And then also, maybe you wind all of that back to the setup. So if you go ahead and set up to the ball, we're going to highlight something that you're doing. If we could get a camera kind of right over the ball, maybe right kind of back in this way. Go ahead and set up like you're comfortable. So right there, right? Where's that club and ball relationship?
I'm setting that ball a little bit further out towards the toe.
Yes.
And I think I've been doing that subconsciously. I'm so afraid of the hosel.
Absolutely. So that's a really common one.
Okay.
But if you think about it this way, right? If you move yourself somehow, let's imagine you did a backswing and then you're coming back into the ball. Show me what you would need to do to make this thing now hit it in the center.
So I'd have to move closer.
You'd have to move the club out.
To get to the center.
Yes.
Yeah.
So your brain knows that. You're an athlete, you're coordinated. Like, you know that if you come back into something like this alignment, you're going to hit it on the toe. So your brain is going to, I got to hit it in the center. I'm going to go out and get
move
the ball
it closer.
now.
Right.
So that is like an instinct thing that I know you did it for a good reason, but in a lesson setting, I often will do the opposite. Right? So if you go ahead and set up again, your feet can stay in the same place. But if I said, okay, you're going to have to hit the next ball and hit it in the center, right? Now what do you have to do?
Now I know I've got to move this club closer towards me.
You've got to get your arms to feel like they're a little more snug to your body to get the ball to hit the center of the club face.
Right.
It might make you hit the toe, but generally if you're hitting it, equal distance off the heel versus the toe, if you're catching it on the shiny part over here, you might lose 10 yards or 15 yards, but it goes pretty straight.
It's playable. It's not a disaster. Yeah.
It's not 90 degrees. It's not like a mental grenade just went off. You can play that way.
Yeah.
And so if you're doing things that would encourage more of this type of motion as you're coming into the ball, maybe a toe side, for someone who's shanking it, that's a big improvement.
Yeah.
Right? And so you want to do stuff that's going to encourage the toe, not just like a Band-Aid that will I moved farther from the ball to allow my error to happen and then just kind of get away with it. Instead, you're actually fixing the error.
Gotcha.
If that makes sense.
It does.
So the drill I do for this all the time, go ahead and set up to the ball. You can put it right in the center of the face. So you are going to swing, and I want you to completely miss the ball. But you're going to try to hit the ground somewhere in this vicinity. So this is going to be I call it the whiff drill. I learned this from Jim McLean when I was his assistant. So when you do this, I want you to take a swing, completely miss, and it should be pretty much full speed.
Okay.
I love doing this one outdoors on grass because you can also see like the divot. When you do this, actually why don't I take one try at this first. So It doesn't matter what club you do this with. You could do this with a fairway wood, you could do it with a wedge. Your objective is to miss inside the ball, but I don't want you to just hammer the ground back here, right? That's encouraging something else that's not so good. We want to land the club just after the ball and inside the ball. So in other words, it's like you're trying to hit an imaginary ball that's just inside of yours. So you set up, again, totally normal, no cheating. You can't go way back here. So you set up in a comfortable, normal setup. You completely whiff, and then you kind of do like this analysis of how did I do that? Like, what did I adjust, right? We talked about early extension a little before we started this video. You know, I think people that early extend are going to be like, whoa, my legs are in the way.
Yeah.
I can't do this.
Right.
And then you'd really struggle at this drill. So you might need to feel like you push your hips away from the ball to create some space to swing the club. That might be the feel. You might feel your balance change. You might feel like your arms are brushing your body. You might feel, I don't know what you'll feel. You know, it's like that's kind of what you want to pay attention to as you do this, is the feeling that you get when you make the adjustment.
Because no matter what, it should feel different than what I'm doing.
Yeah, for sure. And then, you know, you do that a few times, a couple whiffs, and then when you go to hit the ball, you're going to put 10% of that feel on it, or just a less exaggerated version. And then we should see the strike location move over to the toe.
Yeah.
If you look at the, I mean, that ball went dead straight. I don't think I lost a ton of distance. Thankfully, Titleist makes forgiving clubs, right?
Right.
You should be able to hit the ball more or less on target, more or less in a reasonable dispersion, right? It's not 90 degrees to the right.
For sure.
That's the
it's
key to
definitely
this.
workable out there on the top.
Yes. I think a lot of people would call that terrible contact, but that's a pretty good shot result. And that's kind of the whole point of this. If you do this perfectly, you're going to whiff and hit the ground after the ball.
Right here.
Those are the two pieces.
Okay, so let's give it a shot.
Complete miss.
And we're going to swing full speed.
Yeah. Not like violently, but perfect.
Well, I came close hitting that ball, though. I feel like I
did?
came
Yeah,
pretty close
I think
hitting
I
that
saw
ball.
it move. It almost hit me.
I was going to say, stand back.
That's all right. So I want a little louder divot. Good?
What I'm immediately feeling is my weight further back, especially in my feet.
Great. This is actually a fundamental. If you kind of look at great players on tour, you might see like the Justin Thomases with the driver.
Yeah.
Right? They're jumping out of the ground. But at the finish, as a means of staying in posture, you might see players up on their toes at some point, but you'll see the finish look like this. Right?
Out
where
on that heel.
The toes are somewhat elevated. The foot's almost rotating. Jordan Spieth, you know, kind of like this. But you see the foot, the release of the left foot is kind of like this, where the pressure point is in the heel. And I think you could kind of stand here all day doing that. When you see players on their toes, it's like they're cramping their calves. Like it's like not so stable. It's kind of shaky. And then eventually you just fall over. But you could stand here under the base of your leg, right over your ankle, for the whole day.
Yeah.
And so that balance is really critical when you're out over this way. To me, that says you moved towards the ball, could cause a shank, right? So it's great that you noticed that. That's the thing to
falling more
focus on.
that way is better. I mean, ultimately we want to be
Yeah.
balanced, but moving my weight that way is better than moving towards it.
I think that's great too, because you're getting away from thoughts about, oh my God, the hosel. You're thinking about your foot.
Right.
Like if you hold the club up in the air, your feet are the furthest thing from the club head, right? So you're now getting the anxiety out of there. You're focused on something positive, but it's also something that seemingly has nothing to do with the club, right? And that's I think a really positive thing when you do this kind of thing. So this exercise helps declutter your brain. It helps you be a little more like athletic and not so worried about, you know, results. So let's do one more whiff, and then we're going to try the ball just like I did and see if we can get the strike to be kind of out on the toe side of the face.
So we're lining up on the center face there.
Dead nuts in the middle of the face, yep. No more toe setup. Great, okay, now we're going to try this ball as fast as you want. It's fine with me. Just feel a little bit of that.
Heel caught the ground a little bit there.
It's okay. Let's see where we hit the face. Awesome. Perfect. And you can see on the screen there the shot result. Again, it's to me, I'm cool with that.
Right.
Like, I know it probably didn't go as far as we would want, right? It's at the bottom of the dispersion there, but it went super straight. It's not a 90-degree right miss.
Right.
Your path is good. The ball speed was a little low because it came off the end of the club, but at the end of the day, it's like it's in play. It's usable.
It's only only about 10 yards less than I would get with this 9-iron. So.
Yeah, there's other ways to do this, maybe more creatively, more feedback. Like you could set up to, like I said, you could hit balls this way. You could set up to this ball and effectively do the whiff drill, but hit this one.
That ball.
Yeah.
What if someone was concerned like that's going to start to cause me to go too much over the top, like trying to pull it inside?
If anything, I think I see people swing more inside out doing that.
Really?
Yeah, because
it just feels like something that where you start here and then you're coming on the inside of the ball. To me, seems like it.
Well, so if you think about it, in my opinion, I think go ahead and set up to this one.
This one here?
The outside ball. Yep.
Okay.
Go ahead and swing up to the top. All right, and then let's start coming down. So I'm going to put you on the outside. Tell me how easy it's going to be to hit the inside
now I'm
ball.
going to, yeah.
Right, so do it again. Go up to the top from the outside one. Okay, now if I put you here, try to hit the inside ball.
Much easier.
It's way easier. So, yeah, you wouldn't even think about over the top versus outside in. You just go, I got to hit the inside ball. Start here, and I got to keep things more in close to my body. That doesn't start out here and then, go like that to hit it. That's about the last thing I think a human being would would attempt, right?
Yeah.
And this is
it's cool you break it down like that, because
drill.
I had just thought like if you're on the inside of the ball, you must be coming across it like this. But I guess the whole path is coming.
It's
on
like
the
inside to inside.
Inside to inside.
So,
okay.
Like if I grabbed another club here for that, so go ahead and set up again.
Which ball you want me to set up on?
We'll just set up to one ball. Doesn't really matter.
Okay.
So yeah, a lot of times like I'll stand in a lesson and say, swing over the ball. Don't hit the ball here, but like get your arms and club moving in sort of a circle. So you'd want to go inside like that and then back again to the inside. If the club's traveling, we talked about the causes. If you swing inside out too much, could shank it. If you swing outside in too much, you could shank it. So the key word there is out, right? The club is out too far.
Yeah.
It could be out too far on this side or on this side, right? And so that feel is inside to inside. And that's the thing that centers the strike, or might make you toe it a little bit, but it's going to get you away from the hosel. The feeling, I can't stress enough, is so important. Whatever you feel as you whiff, or as if you did the 2-ball thing, and when you hit the inside ball, what does that feel like? You got to pay really close attention to that. It's not a thought.
Right.
It's like you talked about your feet, right? You're feeling something from heel to toe. That's the thing that matters.
So it's avoiding doing this drill mindlessly.
Yeah.
You need to be aware of what's happening.
You've got to be paying attention for sure.
Okay, good. So it's just a matter of rehearsing that and then hitting it. Okay.
Yeah, and ideally we hit it in the center or slightly on the toe side of the club. Awesome.
Yeah.
A little high on the face, but
a little high. Just got dug in a little bit, but that's just a.
As I look at the TrackMan, this splits the club into the 4 hemispheres. Like we want to just live on the toe hemisphere.
Yeah.
High and low right now is a different conversation. We just want to stay away from this half of the club.
Yeah, and no matter what, it's miles away from where I was.
Exactly. If you're heel hoseling it, you've got to toe hit it, right? The solution is the opposite. And that's exactly what this drill does. It makes a lot of sense to just set the ball up on the toe. But like we talked about, that's like, well, now I got to go out and get it. That's probably not the right incentive. You don't want that instinct creeping into your head. You would want the opposite. I don't know that I would encourage you to play golf with it closer to the heel.
Right.
The center is good. Let's just keep it there.
That's the danger zone.
We've just got to make sure that we're doing stuff that's going to make you hit it in the center or on this side of the club. And you won't shank it. You might hit some shots that a little short, of the distance you were hoping for, but you'd keep those quick fades out of there, and that would make life a lot better.
That's the most important thing. So hopefully that helps you guys as much as it helped me. I'll be working on this, and if the shanks there, shanks be gone, try this drill. We'll also link to all of Ryan's information below if you want to get a lesson with Ryan, but be sure, give him a follow on Instagram. Great tips there. Thanks for watching.